Thank you, Shadrach. Yeah, so Stanley will be my helper, and yeah, let us now begin. I'm going to share my screen. Stanley, you can help me out. Are you seeing my screen?
Iya, kok clear sana.
Okay, I hope you can see it. So from now on, I can't really access the meeting room because I'm in full screen presentation. So I hope Stanley will help me out just in case of anything. Yeah. So today I hope all of you know what we want to talk about, and really it's something I can't really say it's something small, because when you come to talk about web development, it's something so huge, and it needs a lot of time to comprehensively cover it. But specifically, we were motivated to have this session together with Ronnie in order to give you a sneak view on what really went on in building our club's website from ground up. So, for those who are not aware, Pivot Club has been having a website since, I think the current website now is a version 2, not even version 1. And yeah, so that is what we want to focus on today. And before we really go through, I know people are really longing to see the kind of website we have and the product itself. I had prepared something small in order to really introduce you or even share some knowledge about web development. This is something that really interests me currently, and I'm pursuing it because currently I'm also working on a project on the same. And yeah, I love it. So let us go ahead and give you an overview of what we can cover for the next around 15 minutes. So basically, I just want to take you through a journey on what is the web. I know you know what the web is, but at least approach it at a comprehensive level, just a bit, not technical level as per se. So we're going to look at the internet generally together with the web. They're two completely different things, and in addition to it, we're going to see how the web has evolved over time since its inception. And now finally we're going to now look at the nitty-gritties on what it takes to build a website, just purely on an informational basis, not a technical in-depth analysis. Yeah, that is to do with the front end, the back end, and now finally the tools used, and something we call version control together with deployment. Yeah, so off to a start. You can imagine that the web is also the internet, but to put them together as such is something that is completely, I can't say wrong, but it's not accurate. So the web itself, that is the www, which stands for the World Wide Web, is just a subset of the internet itself. So basically, I do believe you know that the internet is just the interconnection of computers just all over the world as it has come to be. But originally, the internet was just made to connect computers and share information between computers. And now, after some given period of time, that is when the web was born. And in order to really understand it, the web is essentially just a subset of the internet that has a collection of resources, be it documents, be it the media resources, that is videos, photos, audio, that are just stored somewhere, and they are presented in form of a markup language, of which mostly it's known as a HTML language. So let us look at the journey, how it came to be known as the web. So essentially, we can't talk about the web without talking about the internet, as you know, despite the two being at least a bit different things. So all of this begins with the internet, of course, and as you can see from this snapshot, the internet really started way back in 1958, and it's been a hell of a journey throughout the years. But specifically between 1958 to around uh, early 90s, we were purely dealing with the evolution of internet itself, and nothing much was going on in terms of the world wide web. That is now the web we are trying to talk about. So I do think some of you have heard of ARPANET, one of the first internet back then in 1967, that was coined, and it was aimed to connect computers between these Ivy League universities at the US, Kina MIT, and so on. But basically, the purpose or the motivation behind the internet was for military purpose, and this was, of course, during the Cold War. And as such, you all know that war is the motivation for the technological advances we've had over the last century or so. So around early 90s, that is when we now started having the World Wide Web. I'm not going to go exactly who created it and so on, but you can see from the timeline that from 1994 onwards to where we are now, that is when we've now experienced the evolution of the web. And as much as you can see, or as much as you can attest to, because I think you use these products yourself, the web hasn't remained really static or the same since its inception. It's been transforming year in, year out, and as such, we can now look at the evolution of the web, on how it has transformed since its first inception, that is the early 90s, up to where we are. There's some terms you've come to hear being tossed here and around currently, especially during this age whereby every talk you hear about is AI, IoT, and so on. One of the terms that you might have heard flying around is the Web3, and if we have a Web3, of course, that really means there has been the first version, the second version, and we are now at the third version, and that is true. So we've had Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and Web 3.0. So as you can see from the snapshot, it's been something that has been rising steadily up to some point, and it started rising a bit exponentially, and that is due to the fact that currently the era that we are in at this age, yeah, 2022, and okay, essentially from 2010 onwards, it's been an era of exponential growth in terms of technology, and due to that, you can now see the reason why at Web3 we are really having a sharp curve, even in terms of value created by these technologies. But back to the evolution itself. Uh, Initially, at the very beginning, in the beginning, we had Web 1.0, and what really Web 1.0 did back then was that it just provided static content. It was just kind of like a Wikipedia where you just get to read information being displayed on you on a browser. Nothing else went on. You couldn't create content and post. You couldn't even understand how it was made to begin with. So basically, the Web 1.0 version was early 90s up to around 2004, and it was not interactive. It was a read-only web, and most consumers were not able to create content. The only content creators for Web 1.0 were just the developers themselves. So now, after 2004, enter Facebook. That was the birth of Web 2.0. And as you know, there's a difference between the static web pages that you get to see and Facebook, with the main difference being with Facebook and other similar applications, you have the ability as a consumer or as a user to create content and post. So that was the separation between Web 1.0 and Web 2.0. So the second version, the second iteration of the web was interactive to begin with, and it was kind of like a social web whereby it interconnected people or users all over. So users also, as I have said, were allowed to create content and post, and also it supported a wide variety of media or content as per se. You could post videos, you could post photos, and as much as we are talking about Web 3.0, we are still in the era of Web 2.0 as much. And as you can see from my snapshot, you can look that these applications are something that you get to use on a daily basis, from Uber, Airbnb, Facebook, and any other kind of social app. I hope you can distinguish between the two, the Web 1.0 and Web 2.0. Now, definitely, you do know that anything with technology isn't static, it changes to solve the problems that arises from the same kind of technology that is being used at that instance of time. So when we talk about Web 2.0, how it came into existence and how it grew posed a really great challenge, because how these apps came into existence, there were apps that were just
Excuse
developed.
Cassie,
Okay.
Mr. Tony.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, Stanley.
Tony, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Uh, sauti yako imeenda chini kiasi. Sijui kama ni mimi peke yangu nimesikia sauti yako imeenda chini kiasi. I hope
Uh,
the rest of the people can hear you.
how is it now? Ikoaje saizi?
Sasa iko sawa, sasa iko sawa.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
good.
Yeah, thank you, Stanley. So where was I? I was talking about the challenges that came with Web 2.0. Most of these apps or applications were created with the aim of accumulating user bases fast, without the intention of monetization. So all these Facebooks and all these application worked is that they just sought out to create a huge user base to begin with, and now after that, that is now when they started monetizing the applications, and these are to make it as a venture. Remember when you are when you want to start a company, for example, when you want to yeah, create the Facebooks and so on, you need investments. And how they were financed using venture capitals, whereby you have an angel investor buying out a stake of your company with the promise that it will grow, and as you monetize your product or your application, is going to earn much more than what you invested in. So this led to so many challenges, and one of the challenge that arose from this is that these companies, for them to really be sustainable in the long term, they did have to sell user data in order to be sustainable. This was not something that is organic. That is something that was really against. When you look at so many countries in the world, they're against leaking or using user data without permission. So this created a challenge, and this challenge is what came to create now, or was the motivation to the creation of the web version 3.0. Now enter version 3.0, that is the web 3.0, as many of you know or have heard, whereby now it was something really completely different from web 2.0. How the web works is normally that, okay, the intricacies, the technical aspects of it, it normally works on a client server model, whereby you have a central server somewhere storing all your documents, and in order to access them, you need a client on the other end, and the client can be a node connection to a computer, a laptop, a mobile phone, and so on. So that architecture also poses a lot of challenges. For example, when it comes to censorship, it's so easy to control a central server that is supposed to work for everyone. Now, in when you come and talk about Web 3.0, this version of the web runs on a distributed network, that is a peer-to-peer nodes, whereby nothing is stored on a central server. and it runs on technologies that are also emerging, such as the blockchains, and it really helped to solve a really great challenge that existed with the Web 2.0 version, and that challenge was to do with data privacy. So with a Web 3 application, those are the things that it tried to mitigate. I know it's something that is still developing. It's something that is actually trending. It has not been really figured out well, and as such, as you can see from the snapshot, I don't think many of you can relate with these applications on Web3. A few people can, not everyone, as much as you could compare with these applications on Web 2.0. But enough of on the evolution of the web. To just summarize on the evolution of the web, we can view it in terms of the applications. I think that can provide a clear understanding on the differences between all these uh, versions of the web. So when you talk about Web 1.0, the ones that ran on the Internet Explorer, the Yahoo's, the Google, those were the first versions and they were read only. When you talk about Web version 2.0, it's a participatory centralized web, whereby now you have these applications that are social networks. You have the Instagrams, the Facebook, Twitter, X, and all that together with, when we talk about the web, you can't really isolate it from the browsers themselves, because in order for you to read a web page, you need a browser on your computer. So as well, these browsers are part of the ecosystem. And when we talk about the Mozilla, we have Chrome, Edge, those fall within the Web 2.0 version. Now, when we talk about the Web 3, I really don't know if anyone has had a chance to interact with this kind of applications. I have personally, and I think you also have done that personally, because I think you can identify one. This is the Brave browser, and yeah, it works really well. You can tell the difference. With Brave, you can't really watch an ad if you don't want to. If you really want to watch an ad, you get tokens for it, and the token economy is something that can be easily monetized in future, in this near future that you are really anticipating. So yeah, that is to do with the evolution of the web, and yeah, I think I've exhausted the to do with the okay, a little bit of history and what the web is on an upper surface level. But now, due to time, I'd like to throw the focus into what it takes to build one. So as I began with, I said that web development is something that is really complex. It involves the accumulations of various technologies that need to work together in order to give you what you easily see as something simple, like the apps you use, the social networks. Those things are easy to use, but the work that goes into them to make it easy for users to use is quite intensive. So, in order to come up with a website, you need to split it. And I think you've heard of stacks. You've heard someone talking about front end, back end, or full stack. That is to do with the software engineers as much. What are these? So let us begin with front end development, and as you can see, it's something quite not that really hard. And the front end of a website is what you get to see as a user. All the cool themes, all the semantics, all the icons, the panels, and what you get to interact with as well. Remember, you can do a lot. When we talked about the web 2.0, okay, web 2.0, we said that it allows consumers or the users to post content. To post content, you need to send your data somewhere. So yeah, that is part of the front end. That is to do with what you see, that is the what is displayed to you, and even what you get to do, the actions you get to perform, submissions of forms, clicking of links to be redirected somewhere. Imagine yourself, you are on a Jumia's website, you're buying stuff and you want to add items to your cart. All that activity or all that kind of mini application is well taken care of by the front end of the website itself. And I can't go through all this. As you can see, we have the programming languages that take care of different aspects of the front end development. The basic one being the HTML, which is a markup language to display what you have to see. The CSS, that is responsible for styling and laying out techniques. And also, you have to remember, when you are accessing the web, you do it using different devices. One can use a mobile phone, another person can use a laptop, another person can use a tablet, and so on. So all these variations in terms of the client's devices, it necessitates a requirement on responsiveness of your websites. So this is well taken care of as well under CSS, such that when you log in using your phone, you're able to view the website in full, not just in half. And also when you use your laptop, you can view it with the aspect ratio of your laptop, not just like a small box like your phone. Yeah, so that is well taken care of. Okay, it's taken care of using the CSS. We do have a JavaScript as well, which is a really important language when it comes to front end. It handles what is known as a DOM manipulation. That is to do with all the events that you can do, be it clicking, be it form submissions, and so on. So yeah, that is a bit of front end and what it does to a website. And owing to what we also mentioned earlier, the web exists in a client server model, meaning there are two versions of this: what the client sees and what the client doesn't see. As much as others would say it's the backstage things, the things that are really ugly sometimes, they can be really not so well pleasant as well. So that is what we call the backend development. Those are the things that run behind the hood, behind your browser, behind what you just get to see in a normal website. And it is involved of these major compositions. These are not the only ones. Remember that websites, which are part of the web, are, are applications that are supposed to solve a particular problem. It has a particular aim. So when you talk about the business logic, it's what it's supposed to do. If it's an e-commerce platform, it's supposed to facilitate trade. If it's a social network, it's supposed to facilitate interactions, human interactions, and so on. Think of any kind of a web application and what it does majorly. If it's an Uber application, it's supposed to link drivers and so on. So yeah, the composition is this: there's a database, and it can be of any kind of type. Okay, any type. You have the relational or non-relational. Okay, 3 minutes and I'm done. I Stanley, please remind me. I can't really even look at the time since I'm in presentation mode. So remind me so that I cannot extend. Also, the database offers what we call the CRUD operations. That is the create, uh, update, delete, and retrieve operations. Aside from the database acts as a storage system. We now need a way of accessing that storage facility, that storage system. And to do that, we need now what we call frameworks. And these frameworks are so many. There are so many frameworks that one can work with depending on the programming language that they are built on. So when you talk about the Express, and Django and Flask. Specifically, Django and Flask run on Python. So, meaning if you know Python, you can work with Django, you can work with Flask. So, basically, what frameworks do is that they work with now the storage, that is the database, using now the ORMs and the ODMs, that is the libraries that facilitate the programmer to work with the database using the programming language itself. Aside from it, we've talked about the web having two sides of it, the client side and the server side. So, in order to link the two sides of the web, we need something we know or we call the API. So, the APIs basically they're just like workers, they come as slaves. Their job is just to link the front end and the back end. When you create your user profile on your favorite social network, what you create is registered on your machine, that is the client. Once you hit on the create button, it's supposed to be registered with the database in order to store your information. How that works, how that links, it's through an API. So APIs as well have various functions, and there are various types. You have the RESTful or the GraphQL, and they can perform authentication and authorization. I hope you know that nowadays when you're getting into an application and it requires a sign up, you really don't need to provide your email and password and so on. What you can just do is you just sign in with your Google account, and you as well as good as having an account already. That is facilitated by an API. Yeah, so that was a backend development, and finally we can talk about now version control and deployment. Essentially, I'd like to talk about version control because it's going to affect all of us, the people who are going to be interested in such kind of a project. Remember, engineers don't build alone. You work in a team, and when it comes to coding, in order to work in a team, you need to work using one of the products that offers version control. The most famous one and the easiest one to use is Git, and so many people are on GitHub. The GitHub is now the cloud version of Git. That is where you get to store your code off your machine, that is in cloud, and it's free to use. So Git and GitHub offers version control, that is you can maintain different versions of your application as you build, and also it enables you to collaborate with other engineers as you create your application. So basically, you've got to understand the workflows on how you're going to integrate every member of your team, how they're going to commit to your code base, and all that is put in place in order to prevent damaging your code. No, not even damaging, like let's say making it faulty. Remember, it's programming, and one character that's off can make everything else fall into pieces. Yeah, so it's equally important. And finally, I can talk about open source. I hope you do understand the concept of open source. That is opening up your application. That is the development of your application to anyone who is willing to chip in and contribute. In open source, you get to contribute to anything you want or anything you feel, and it works on a community guided framework that makes everyone understand how to contribute to the project. I think Ronnie will come and touch on this later on after the demo of our club website. And yeah, I think that is it. Stanley, I'm done, and I'll share with you all the slides in order for further reference and so on. I know I have quite uh, been in a hurry on these slides.
No worries, no
Yeah,
worries.
so yeah, I'd like to give this chance to Ronnie, and afterwards we can answer any kind of your questions. So while Ronnie is presenting, remember this and take into consideration what you've been exposed to, and try to align with what has been done. This was the theoretical part. Ronnie is showing you now the practical aspect of it, what has been done, and it involves all of this. So yeah, thank you so much, and over to you, Ronnie, with the guidance of Stanley, of course, our moderator.
Wow, wow. That was really comprehensive, Tony. Yeah, it's like we also learned some few concepts here and there.
Okay, yeah, let me exit my from sharing the screen so that you can share yours. Let me stop presenting. Okay, yeah, Ronnie, you can go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Stanley, maybe you can confirm whether you can see my screen. Hello, Stanley. Or anyone can confirm whether they can see my screen.
You have Infinity Mirror.
Oh, I have it in? Oh, Infinity. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so what Tony has been talking about, having the front end and the back end. So let me just start off with the front end. So well, as Tony made it a bit minimalistic, like he didn't touch more about the frameworks, for instance, for the front end frameworks. So when it comes to front end, sometimes you can actually build using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Actually, right now I'm trying to build a certain application using just HTML, CSS, and some jQuery. Well, it's usually not that easy because you end up re-implementing a lot of things from scratch. So these frameworks actually come in handy and help you, like, to, you're actually interested in coming up with a solution and probably pitching this solution to an investor, or maybe you are hacking at a hackathon, you are trying to win some money here and there. So you want to showcase the solution that you are proposing. So frameworks can help you move faster. So, for instance, in our case, the club's website. So the club's website is actually built using a framework called React.js. So it's a JavaScript front-end framework that makes it easy to piece together like a front-end application. So yeah, this is actually our landing page. Wow, some of these photos we took them in 2019? Yeah, so this is Gregory, and yeah, some few members here and there. Then yeah, this is also us. So well, generally, as per se, so typically, like, I actually used to start like coding the front end for mobile, because most of the people actually access the web on mobile. So as per se, it wasn't that quite responsive on like desktop size, because if I switch over to mobile, it actually looks quite good. I don't know. I like it more better on mobile. I was a bit lazy. You see how it fits in quite well. So yeah, that's also one thing that Tony mentioned, responsiveness. Like, you need to write your web application to be responsive and fit in different screen size, be it desktop, be it tablet, be it mobile phone. And I must say, sometimes that's usually a hard part because, again, you can imagine you need to take into consideration different width of different devices. So you use media queries and all those things. So yeah, I was actually applying a mobile first principle right here. So as you can see, so this is just a welcoming to the club, the mission and vision, the core values and benefits, some of the projects that have been done. So yeah, and then also the research papers that kind of, there was actually a, we had actually, I think Ngati is the one who pioneered the development of a session, like a section in Pivot Club called Tech Flame, where now people come up and like showcase some of these current technologies. For instance, right now you're all talking about generative artificial intelligence. So we could be having some of great papers here on some of the large language models and their use cases. And so yeah, this is actually the part of the tech flame. Then this is just about us. Connect, say hello, join us. So let me exit the and go back to the desktop view. So as you can see, so basically the plan of the website that I had in mind. Actually, like a week ago, I was benchmarking with a certain site called Elarian. So it's actually 7:53. No problem. So it's actually a web platform developed by Africa Stocking, and like I was actually aiming getting back to this project to make it more of like Elarian, because Elarian actually gives you the ability to have a community. So Pivot Club is like a community, an engineering and tech community, where now we can even host events. Like in this case, for instance, here we have activities. So these are the activities that occur in Pivot Club. So maybe we have projects that people have done that can be showcased there, research papers, events, and tech flame. Well, for now, the part of the backend is not online, so it won't be able to fetch that data. So yeah, but typically the sections are supposed to have the projects, research papers, the events that are coming up. For instance, if we had an event like today, this event will be listed like on this page. You'll see like, let's say, web development 101, and you can be able to register for that event. And yeah, even if we can even get to have like the, instead of using Google Meet and have our own like Google Meet on the platform, like that will be actually better. So that's something that we are looking to open source to you guys, and open up development, so that if you have the relevant skills, you want to chime in and help, and you want to jump in and help in the front end or the back end, you'll be able to access the code. So right now the code is not yet open, but once me and Tony get to write the contribution.md, all the requirements and everything that you need to set it up, we'll actually share in the club, in the WhatsApp group, and that the project is open for contribution. So this will also be part of the team section. So the teams now will get to show the different cohorts. Remember, we actually have, so getting back to this, I think, let's see. Oh yeah. So at this point, this part for the activities. So we had the civil and architectural design workshop. So this is like the civil and architectural cohort. Then there was the product design cohort, like the mechanical, those guys who do design. And then we have the programming cohort, the hardware design and programming workshops cohort, and the ML cohort. So like now we'll have like this section supposed to have now different teams showcased there, and you can click and see members of those teams. So yeah, like that was actually the vision. So about us, some brief history about the club. Actually, the club right now has not been there for 7 years. We are now in 2023. Yeah, so yeah, the club has been there for quite some time. So a little bit about the history of it, the constitution of the club. You can actually get to download it. So yeah, and then yeah, it hasn't been updated because this executive team was the team that served back then. So yeah, it needs some update to it. Then so yeah, pretty much the contact us, the login and the sign up for now aren't working because part of the backend is not there. So yeah, that's a general tour of the website, our official club website. And so maybe you're curious to take a look at the backend. So I actually just spawn up a Docker instance of this. Let's see. Yeah. So apparently this was deployed online. I don't know. DigitalOcean and all these other cloud infrastructures these days, they are no free tires, and they can make you go broke. You'll be chilling, and then you wake up, you just realize they've billed you like $25 and you're out of cash, man. So this all these cloud infrastructure services sometimes can be a hurdle in terms of having your backend applications online. So yeah, but this is the back end of what we were talking about. Remember, we were talking about the contact. So for example, pretty much when you go to this contact us page, and you compose, let's say, write your name, and then so you write your phone number. So let's say 079188479. Then you say I like the club activities because the club is actually doing great stuff. So yeah, you say that, and then you actually get to send. So confirm the message, and then you send. So okay, it's just showing that toast, but it actually didn't send the message. I don't know what happened. Probably there's a bug on that, but yeah. So typically that will actually make a post request like to this endpoint right here. So you see the name, the email, the phone number, and the message that they're sending. So that will actually be actually stored on the database. So there's a contact table on the database that gets to store that. And then also remember I talked about the events like now, for instance, there will be an admin interface where now, for example, Shadrach or Stanley, who's in charge of maybe the website, can log in and now register new events, add photos, description of the events. And then now on the front end, this part where it's actually going to display the events, it will actually pull that data. It will pull that data from, it will be making a get request. So yeah, typically that's it. And also you can specifically visit a specific ID. For example, if maybe this event's ID, the web development 101 was like ID 10, you can actually get to visit it. Yeah, put patch. So typically this, all these are the APIs that were supposed to connect to this front end to make it to be functional. So the reason why you're seeing error data, query data cannot be undefined is because like that data is not actually being loaded from a server because the server is not online. So yeah, so this actually was built using Django. Django is a backend framework for Python, and it's really great. I don't know, I like Django. It's a really great framework, and I mean, yeah, a good one. So I don't know. I see it's now 8 p.m. So and I wanna copy at that point. Not unless there's any query, but yeah, we're actually going to open source this, and this is actually something that I'm going to work on in my LX project. And yeah, I've been thinking about how to get back to it, and probably uh, put it out there as an open source project because apparently right now for you to get a job, for instance, as a software engineer, like having open source, contributing to open source project is something that can really help you in getting a job. So yeah, I'm all open source. Yeah, that's it, guys. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. Yeah, I do hope you've got to see a bit of what has been done, and also you've got to been exposed. You've been exposed to what ought to be done. And as I said, building is not for one person. Ronnie can attest to that. Engineers build together, and while you chew on that, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Just any random questions. Remember, this is an interactive webinar, so we can't just quit without questions. Yeah. So, uh, Kimngeno, Dandon, go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Yes, so thank you, Tony, for and Leon for those. It was like a crash course for development. Thank you. But for me, I think I have maybe a beginner's question. I have had like an interest to really build those websites because I think it's a really useful tool. The way you explained for us going forward, it's really useful that as engineers we know how to build the website. So I was asking where can I start? For me personally, I don't know where to start. Which maybe videos on YouTube, which sites on YouTube could you recommend so that I can follow while learning how to start because I'm beginning from fresh. Kabisa.
Okay, thank you, Dandon. I'm going to deflect this question, and before I do that, there are so many avenues of getting to start. Uh, and by avenues, I've had experiences. My very first experience with websites, we have our founding father for the version 1. I think Ronnie knows him. He was known as Eric, I think, yeah, Eric. And yeah, during my first year, I did try, but it was kind of like less of a structured way. That is just going to YouTube and looking at any kind of video. That was my first attempt. My other attempt, I opted for a structured way. That is through a boot camp, because we are not studying computer science or even IT. And by that, I'm now exposing you to various ways of how you can look into this. You can go into YouTube and just do anything, but also it might not work, or it might work. And if that works or not, also there's another avenue, that is to do with uh, going for a boot camp. And by boot camps, there's so many. Kuna Alt Africa, okay, something Alt Africa or something. There is a ALX, which is okay. I think it's been revised. It's not that hectic anymore. Yeah, but generally, my point of deflecting this question is the question that you have, the necessity that you have. That is where Pivot stands to exist. I do know that Pivot has a cohort that deals with software development. Am I right, Shadrach? So that has to be your starting point, and yeah, I think I'll be there also, and I'll give you comprehensively on the guide, the know-how, as a guide on how, what to focus on first, how to go about it, and so on. Because for sure, I can tell you, without the correct structured way or the guide on how to work out these things, it can be inaweza kuwa nini, it can be like inaweza kuwa jangwani, whereby you can just rotate around it for 40 years and you're not getting anywhere. Yeah, so my advice is reach out to Shadrach, join the group, and from there on you'll have a community that works with the same objective, and you're going to share a lot together and learn a lot together. I hope you are answered.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
I think Vivian had a question on the chat.
You can handle that one, Ronnie.
Actually, it's directed to you because are the web classes paid for, or one has to make an application to be absorbed in the cohorts? Oh, I think that means she's actually referring to LX. I don't know. Is she on the call? So, yeah. Vivian, maybe you can clarify. Are you referring to LX?
Yeah, yes, the classes that you are currently on.
So I don't know. I actually heard they were introducing a paid model, but I don't know if it's actually rolled out. But currently, the course should still be free. Just apply, and yeah, once you're accepted, you get started with it. Or Tony, maybe what have you heard of the current cohorts? Are they paying?
Okay. There's been quite some changes since the inception of the program. So we've had the coursework first uh, has been changed. It's now a more lighter version of software engineering. Remember, it's software engineering, and it's supposed to take you 15 months, not even 12. But that has been changed, and now the requirement is down from 10 hours, or was it 10 hours a day? That is totaling 70 hours a week,
20 hours a week.
down to 30 hours a week. So yeah, it's quite manageable. The only problem I saw is that I think it's quite now that they've shifted from offering scholarships to requesting for a fee. But that doesn't need to discourage you, because you can still look. I think they provide avenues for scholarships as well. And also, you should also be aware that there are other boot camps around. We have, even, for example, Moringa School. It's a school itself that can offer you the whole program, and depending on your application level and so on, you can even actually be sponsored as well. So there are so many boot camps going around, and for sure, for the past year, it's been ALX, and I think Moringa are the most common because of the number of people in those programs. Yeah, but I think Alex, I'm sending the link to the chat section. You can have a look because things have been changing a lot lately. Yeah, so I think you answered, Vivian.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask for a link, but you said you are posting it there. So I'll wait for it.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Shadrach.
Okay, hello once again. Thank you, Tony and Ronnie. I think that was very comprehensive and enlightening for beginners' point of view. So, the same note of a beginner's point of view, uh, if I want to start the journey of, doing web development, as Dandon had said, uh, in a classical scenario where you want just to learn, how do you advise maybe someone to go about if they want to do it solo best and then team up, or learn with a team and then go practice solo?
I don't know. Okay, right. Maybe let me try and maybe respond to that. So apparently, I think the other day, like we were having a discussion, like what would we have done differently if we were to start again, and like everyone had this feeling, like how they wish they had like joined a community long time ago, and they were actually building like open source, like openly, as in you just open yourself up to learn and go out there and meet different people, like learn from them, because apparently if you decide to walk the path of learning alone, you realize that you'll take a lot of time, to be honest. Like, so we were doing some competition here and there, like some machine learning competition, and I realized, hey, people have some good skills of fine tuning, like that I didn't know. So if I had locked myself like at home and decided that, you know what, I'm going to do fine tuning at my place alone and figure it out on my own, probably it will take me much time. But if you join communities that actually are really into, for instance, web development, like you join a community of ardent web developers, people who like are really into this thing and are building amazing stuff. Number one, actually, you have to be interested in building. I think the best way to learn, that I actually picked up from Jeff Jeff Ayako, is that, like, even if you feel like maybe you don't know this thing, you have your idea, start building. Like Jeff actually applies a kind of a concept that I saw was kind of a cake, but right now I understand it, and that's something that actually helps him learn faster, because he can get into a framework and he doesn't know anything about it, but he wants to build something. He has a goal. Maybe you want to build a web application that you can use to maybe track maybe your notes or something, and yeah, he starts building it. Like when you build it is when you learn better, but when you study a concept and you don't build it in programming, like it kind of doesn't get well, like you don't absorb it. So yeah, I think you should actually try and look for communities and also resources, the boot camps. Iterate around, maybe you get a Udemy course and start learning through that Udemy course, and also take part in these competitions, like communities, I mean, and you'll actually learn faster. So yeah, I think that should probably work. And yeah, but it takes time. So if you, I think these things are quite a lot. Like, sometimes, manze, you feel like they are a lot. So just give yourself time and be patient with yourself, and yeah, you'll start getting the concepts, and you'll be building amazing stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. I think we're going to take one more, if there is any. And there is a question I'm anticipating. aiulizwi.
Is it about the opportunities available after gaining the skill?
Just a random one. Okay, if you have any question, you can still come forward, but I feel I should communicate this, irrespective whether it's asked or not. I do know that not all of us are really that interested in programming, but are still interested in what it takes to build a website. One thing you have to understand is this: a website is no website without content. It's it's just that simple. If we don't have content to put on that website, the work of a programmer is as well as useless. Actually, programming is a tool, and now the website should achieve a certain functionality. That is what just Ronnie has said. Building with a goal. The goal is much more important even than how to build in this case. So if you're feeling that for now you want to participate, for example, in this project of the club's website, but you're not really that much into programming, all I want to tell you is that you still can do that. How can you do that? We need content for the website itself. You've seen there is to do with research projects, and I have to applaud. Shadrach has been running a very good initiative of coming up with the club's magazine. That's an avenue where it accumulates all the content that goes into. Okay, that explains more about the club, and that is the kind of content that can go into our website as well. So yeah, there's room for you. If you can't code, you can create content. There's also another avenue for it. There's a there's a process we've skipped when it comes to web development, and that is the design and planning. Remember, you can't build without planning. I'm really sorry. That is so unengineering from me. I'm really sorry I skipped that part. You can't really build without planning. And when you talk about the front end, imagine when you're working with a front end, you have a blank screen. You really don't know which object goes where. You really don't know what goes where. You know, for screen you have all these things. Kuna the navigation bar, the side panel, you have the footer, the header, and so on. All that is something that you have to build yourself from scratch upwards. So owing to that, you need to design first and plan before you put your energy and focus into coding, because that is where the most of the work is as well. So when you want to do designs, there are ways you can do them, and one of the ways is you can use a Figma, for example, to do front end designs, and there is no coding involved in that. Ni kama tu kutumia Canva. So yeah, that is another avenue. So if you're an imaginative, creative person and you're not really that into coding, yes, you can still contribute. Labda umeona front end ya Ronnie yenye ame display and you're like, why is that cohort on the left, the other one is on the right, and so on. Those are the things that get well taken care of during design. So my call, my rally to you, yani, I just want to encourage you. Once the project is open sourced, it will be of importance as a member to try and contribute in any way you can, and nimewapea just a number of avenues you can do that, and it will go a long way in trying to build what you really want to get better at. So yeah, that is it. How can we get the slides? I will be sending the slides to Shadrach, and if you're not a member of the club as well, I don't know if there was a registration. Was there a registration, Shadrach?
Yes, there is one.
Okay, I think you can reshare the link so that people can register, and if someone is not a member, they can be sent the slides personally via an email, which I hope you fill out when registering. I hope that is well taken care of. Okay. Any other question? So if there are no any other questions, on behalf of the guest in quotes that we were invited, I'd like to give a vote of thanks. I'd like to thank Shadrach for inviting us over. It feels nice to give back to you guys, and also it makes us also learn. You know, these interactive sessions, or even you repeating, or even you presenting what you think you know, can help you know better. So yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity, and on behalf of Ronnie as well, we would like to thank you for showing up and putting up with. I know it can get boring sometimes, our presentations up to this time. And lastly, yeah, we are sorry we extended a bit by 18 minutes. Yeah, but thank you for your patience. So thank you so much, guys. I'd like to hand over back to our moderator Stanley, and have a lovely time and all the best. Back to you, Stanley. Or Shadrach.
I'm not sure the time is around, but I think I can take over. So it's been amazing. Yeah, and session has been insightful, and I think we really need to host another one, or rather get in groups where we can try to utilize these skills or dig deeper into it. So I think I'll
What's
invite
your short term on
Clarice
committing?
to give a vote of thanks
It's alright,
before we wrap it up. Clarice, if you can hear me. Uh, I'm not sure that she's in the meeting.
So
I'm
sorry
not sure
guys.
if you have.